This was a petition filed on June 9th, 2023. Ex parte order was filed on June 15th, 2023. And we are here today to consider whether or not the ex parte protective order will continue for the next 12 months. While you are both unmuted, I'm going to ask that you raise your right hand. I'm going to get you sworn in. Do you swear or affirm all testimony is true and correct under penalty of perjury? First, Ms. North.
Yes.
And then next, Mr. Brickley.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And you can both go ahead and mute your cameras at this time. I'm going to give a little bit of instructions before we get started. As I stated, this hearing today is to determine whether or not the ex parte temporary protective order becomes a 12-month protective order. This was filed under the Family Violence Act, so the court will be listening from the petitioner to hear whether or not there has been evidence submitted that there was an act of family violence or battery, and that there is or stalking, and that there is a reasonable likelihood of those acts continuing into the future should the protective order not be issued today. So those are the two elements of this case I will be looking to hear when the petitioner testifies. Once the petitioner has testified, I will then hear from the respondent, and both sides will therefore get a thorough chance to be heard. Ms. Bream, if you could go ahead and mute your camera for me. Thank you. After that, I will hear any summation that you wish to give, any sort of closing argument you wish to give as to what you're asking the court for on both sides, and then I will issue my order. If you have witnesses that you intend to call, please let me know that at this time. Does either party have witnesses they intend to call? All right. Then with that, Ms. North, if you'll go ahead and unmute yourself and state your full name.
My name is Asia North.
All right. And how do you know Timothy Brickley?
He's my baby's father.
All right. And how long have you known him?
For about 4 years.
Okay. And how many children do you have with him?
Just one.
All right. And has he legitimated that child?
No.
Okay. All right. What led to you requesting this temporary protective order?
What led me up to doing this protective order today is me and Mr. Brickley, we had ended up calling our relationship quits about a few weeks ago. We called our relationship quits a few weeks before the TPO was filed. So he was going to see his girlfriends. I had my guy friend. He was actually coming over to see me on the event in question that caused me to file this TPO. My guy friend, so me and my daughter, we was at home. He was sleeping in the living room. My guy friend actually came to pull up to bring me some alcohol to drink because I couldn't leave. I had my daughter. So I left my daughter in the bed and I went outside. Mr. Brickley was in the living room and he was asleep as well. I went outside for 10 minutes and then we look up and we see Mr. Brickley coming down the stairs with the dog. We have a little puppy. And so my friend, he was like, what's going on? I was like, he probably just walking the dog. Instead of him walking the dog, he walks down at least about 20 feet to the car. We wasn't even parked in front of my apartment. We was parked down at least like 7 parking spaces away from my apartment. He walks down to the car, my friend's car, walks around to the passenger side door, proceeds to open his car door and says to me, what I tell you about leaving your child in the house by herself. I say, she's not in the house by herself. You was in the house. He say, what I tell you about leaving my child, what I tell you about leaving your child in the house by herself. I said, she's not by herself. You're in the living room. Within us going back and forth, my guy friends intervene and he says, I don't have nothing to do with that, but why are you opening my car door? What you opening my car door for? Any problems y'all have, you need to wait till she come up to the house. You don't need to be touching my car. So with him saying that caused Mr. Brickley to pull out his gun and point it at me and my guy friend while we're sitting in his car. So he pulls out his gun and he say, then I tell you next time this nigga comes to my house, I'ma kill him. And he kept saying that. Keep in mind, my 1-year-old daughter is in the house by herself, howling and screaming because he came outside to pull a gun on someone. So once he did that, I tried to take out my phone and call the police. He snatches my phone out my hand and put it in his pocket. My friend proceeds to get out the car and get on his phone. And I believe he was calling his mom or one of his guy friends or something. So they start exchanging words, Mr. Brickley and my guy friend. I try to walk away. I'm trying to tell my guy friend he just needs to leave. I'm about to go in the house, and I'm trying to proceed to walk away to go in the house. As I'm trying to go in the house, Mr. Brickley is standing at our foyer area that leads to our porch steps. He's just standing right there, and he's making all kind of ill threats. Nigga, I kill you on Big Whoop. That's gang affiliate. I do this, I do that. Nigga, you ain't this. Nigga, you ain't that. My friend is in his car attempting to pull off, but he's still exchanging words with Mr. Brickley. But he's in his car, like at least 50, 60 paces away in his car. I end up going upstairs because, again, my baby is in the house screaming and crying. At this time, I did not know that his older brother was in the house at this time. So when I walk in, his oldest brother is standing in the kitchen fixing himself something to eat. So I just get my baby and I proceed to go ahead and get our stuff because I was about to try to leave because at that time I didn't feel safe. So I still hear them two outside arguing. I'm inside. Next thing I know, I hear his brother charging out the door. He got his gun as well. So now it's Timothy and his brother. They're outside basically provoking this man that's in his car. He never got out his car and came and provoked them. He never drawed a gun on Mr. Brickley at no time. He never came on our property, our porch, and provoked anybody in our household. Mr. Brickley came and provoked him. So I'm in the house. All I hear is gunshots let off. I don't know who shot at who. I don't know what shots was let off. My friends say that his brother shot at him and he shot back. Mr. Brickley says that he shot and then they shot back. I don't know what happened. I was inside. So that's what led me up to getting this TPO today because, like I say, I have my 1-year-old daughter. We just moved into that apartment in April. And for him to unconsciously do that with my daughter being inside the home, if I had not known this gentleman, like how I known him, anything could have happened with Mr. Brickley pulling his weapon out. This man could have felt threatened and shot me and Mr. Brickley. This man could have felt threatened still and came back and shot up the house with my daughter inside the house. Plenty things could have happened. And I feel like he's not taking in accountability of the safety and the living situation of my daughter. We could have got putting out for that. Anything could have happened. He also put me in jeopardy because he also put the gun literally in my face, across my face. So if he would have shot the gun, and the backfire, anything would have happened, I could have got shot as well with me being in the car. That was the main reason of me filing this TPO. There were other incidents prior, but this was the main exact reason why I did it.
Okay, so let me ask you. You stated you moved into this apartment in April. Is the apartment in your name, his name, your both names?
It's both our names. His name is just first, but it's both our names on there. It's his name, my name, and my daughter.
Okay. And at the time that this incident occurred, you were separated but still living in the same house together.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you heard from Mr. Brickley since he was served with this protective order?
I have not heard from him, but I have an OnlyFans account. He did subscribe to my OnlyFans account on June 22nd. Also, I had mistakenly logged into his account and I logged right back out because I was trying to log into mine. And he texted my grandmother and told her to tell her to stay off of my accounts. He also was logged into my grandmother's Netflix accounts, and I had to change the passwords to get him off of there because my grandma pays for that Netflix account.
Okay. You referenced some incidents that had happened before this. Has he ever been physically violent or threatened you with a firearm before?
Physically violent, yes. Firearm, no.
When was he last physically violent with you?
Last physically violent that was reported was January of 2022. That was last reported. Actually physical. We actually got into a physical altercation about 3 to 4 days prior to this incident. I would like to say on the 30th or the 31st of May.
And what happened in that incident?
I had been texting him. He didn't come into my house till 6 o'clock in the morning. And I had been asking him where he was. And he didn't want to respond. That resulted into us having physical words going back and forth. So I was angry. So I acted like I was about to pack up his stuff. I did put his stuff and remove it out of my bedroom and set it in the hallway. And then he returned in retaliation, went in there and grabbed all my clothes out the drawer and threw them out on the porch. And then also in return, my key is on like a wallet key ring. He actually snatched my key off the wallet key ring and took my key. And I had to go to the rent office and get a new key to be able to enter and have access to my home.
Okay. And prior to that incident, what was the most recent physical altercation between the two of you?
Prior to the one a couple of days before the
Yes.
shooting.
Yes. Would that be the January 2022?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you want to tell me at this time?
Also within that incident that happened a couple of days before the shooting, like I say, we did exchange physical altercation. I tried to upload the pictures of my bruises and things, but I had problems converting my things over to PDF. So as we was fighting an altercation, I did pick up a knife. And when I picked up the knife, he was trying to grab the knife out my hand. Like, I guess he was thinking I was going to stab him, but I had it for my own protection. And he was trying to grab it out my hand, and he ended up cutting his own hand. And he was basically trying to tell the police and stuff that I picked up the knife and cut him and tried to stab at him. Also, but the
Okay,
day.
let me interrupt you for one moment.
Yes,
The police were called on the incident that happened 3 to 4 days before this last one.
Yeah, I called them to let them know that he took my key. I didn't let them know nothing about the fighting incident.
Okay.
I didn't tell anything about that fighting incident until the night I called the police on the night of the shooting.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything further?
Other than that, his brother, his older brother, like I stated previously, he's still staying there. I just recently had an issue where the light bill was due on June 14th. His brother had agreed to pay us $250 a month to help with the bills inside the household. From what his brother had told me, I also had recording of that. Again, I couldn't switch it over to PDF, but his brother's exact words were, I gave Tim the money, so I don't know what you want me to do about the light bill not being paid. So
Okay,
he gave Tim.
So who else living in your apartment right now?
His brother, myself, and my daughter. And
Okay.
I'm actually on the verge of trying to remove the brother.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You can go ahead and put yourself on mute now. Mr. Brickley, you were previously sworn. You can go ahead and unmute, sir, and you're welcome to respond to the testimony that we have heard from Ms. North.
Okay, so the incident in which the police was called about the guns,
Mhm.
I never pulled my gun out until he presented his weapon, for one. Two, my daughter was already up as soon as she walked out the door. That's what woke me up to initiate me to go outside. I was also walking the dog, but my daughter was also up. That's why I even came to the car to ask her why she was out here, because I wasn't aware that she knew if my daughter was asleep or not. As far as the shooting, I never fired my weapon. He was shooting as me and my brother were literally walking into the house while he was shooting. I guess he was in front of the neighborhood or whatever. We did have an exchange of words. And also it was literally in front of the apartment.
All right. And did you go to the passenger side of the vehicle where Miss North was and open that door to speak to her?
Yes, to speak to her.
Okay. And
No whatsoever.
I'm sorry?
There was no aggression whatsoever. I was literally
Okay.
trying to understand why you outside and my daughter's in the room by herself. You didn't even tell me that you was going out there. You just walked outside while I was asleep.
Okay.
My daughter.
And just one second. And at some point, whether it be before or after the guy friend did you point your weapon across where she was sitting?
I never pointed my gun at him. I literally grabbed my gun when he grabbed his gun. He grabbed his gun as he was getting out the car. I assumed he was finna walk around the car, basically trying to shoot me or whatever. So I was really preparing myself for whatever he had going on. Cause I was literally talking to her and he had his little input or whatever.
Okay. And do you recall a couple of days before that, the altercation that she refers to?
Yes, I had been out. I had got off work. I had went to a friend's house. I didn't come home till like 5, 6 in the morning. We not together, as she earlier explained to you. We're not together, so why would you be blowing my phone? Did come on my way home, actually, my brother texted my phone saying she's packing up your clothes, what's going on? She's on the phone, cussing and all this other stuff. So when I do get home, all my stuff is packed by the door. I'm trying to, so yes, I did grab her stuff and I also packed her stuff. And I also grabbed the key that I bought, which initiated her to grab a knife and attack me with the knife.
When you say it was the key that you bought, what do you mean by that?
I bought the key that she has. I bought the key for her and my brother.
Were you not given keys when you rented the location?
There was one key.
Oh, one key. So you made copies.
Copies of the key and gave them.
Okay. Okay, and one other question. On the date of the firearm exchange or firearm, just, whatever was going on with the gun, on that date, did you take her phone from her?
No, I didn't take her phone.
I'm sorry?
No, I didn't take her phone.
Okay. Okay. Anything further that you want to tell me as it relates to this request for a 12-month protective order?
As far as me being a threat, I'm no type of threat to her or my child. But I'm very nonchalant. When she tries to argue, I literally sit there and don't say anything, or I try to walk away. That's what makes her get aggressive with me. And that's what happened basically, January the 20th, that day, I basically got locked up for that. So basically, we got into an argument. Well, she was arguing at me, and I wasn't initiating into the argument. So that made her get aggressive with me. It got kind of physical, and I wound up pushing her off of me, and she wound up hitting her head. And that's why they sent me to jail, because the ambulance came and they said she had a concussion, so they had to take me to jail because of that.
Okay. And that was January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Anything further?
I have never initiated any type of confrontation with her. I'm not a threat to her or my child. In actuality, she's more of a threat to herself and my child than I am. As long as I've known her, she's 24 years old and she's tried to take her own life at least 5 to 6 times. 3 of those times being with me. 2 of those occasions happened before I even knew her.
All right. And the petitioner indicated that there has been no formal legitimation of the child. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I don't know what it is.
Have you gone through the DNA testing with the child?
No.
Okay. All right. Anything further, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And lastly, back to you, Ms. North, you carry the burden. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Mr. Brickley, if you'll go ahead and remute, thank you. Is there anything further that you wish to add in rebuttal, Ms. North?
I would like to object to the things that he was saying as far as the shooting. Those statements that he made were a lie. He indeed did have his gun out. So how did I know this? So when I went back in the house to pack up my baby's things, the case that the holster that he has his gun in, it was actually still sitting on the bed where my daughter was laying. So that's how I know, yes, my baby did probably wake up crying. He went back there to check on her, took her off the bed, took his gun out the holster, and used the dog as a cover-up as if he was walking the dog. Again, like I say, I don't know who shot at who. I wasn't present. I was inside the house. So I don't know how that transpired outside. He did indeed snatch my phone when I tried to call the police. The reason I can say this, because I start fussing and yelling, I want my phone, because I didn't pay for this phone. My grandmother bought this phone. So he took my phone, and as they was chasing him, there's an open field on the side of my building. My phone was laying in the wet grass on the side of the building from when they was chasing him through the apartment complex. So yes, he did take my phone. And when I went back inside, once they came back in and me and him was exchanging words, I say, Timothy, where's my phone? I don't know. I don't have your phone. Timothy, you took my phone. Where's my phone? I don't know. It's probably outside somewhere. You need to go look for my phone, Timothy. Nope, that's your phone. You need to go look for it. Timothy, I didn't pay for that phone. That's how those words went about. So yes, he did take my phone. We was in the car. My friend never pulled out the gun. My friend, just to be honest, my friend was actually rolling a blunt when he walked up to the car. He was rolling a blunt. I was actually bending down to pick up the bottle to open it and drink out of it when Mr. Brickley walked around to the passenger side of the car. His gun was still on his hip when he got out the car to make a phone call. His gun was still on his hip. He then took his gun off his hip when he got out the car. That's when he took his gun out. Mr. Brickley had already pulled out the gun, snatched my phone out my hand before my friend even got out the car and made a phone call.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Having heard from all the parties, I am ready at this time to hear summation. So
Also, can I inject one more thing?
yes, ma'am.
Also, that same day, he had made a fake profile of me posting my intimate pictures, like my pictures of what I used to post on my OnlyFans content and spreading vulgar lies about me. He followed a lot of my family members and my friends, and they had to message me and ask me, like, Asia, is this you? Are you really doing this? He also had recorded a video of me and my guy friend getting out the car and was trying to persuade it and use it as like I was out prostituting in cars. That's the message she was putting on the video, as if I'm leaving my baby in the house to go and prostitute in the cars and stuff like that, to those nature. And another thing, I would never say he's not an actual physical threat to his daughter, no, but his actions can cause us to lose our home, can cause us to be hurt physically because of his actions. That's what I mean, that he's a threat to my daughter.
Okay. All right. And what are you asking the court for today?
I would like the restraining order to be extended.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Brickley, is there anything you wish to say in response, and what are you asking the court for today?
As far as me pulling out my gun, like I said, I didn't pull out my gun until a gun was presented. I don't go looking for trouble.
And what are
As
you
far as
asking the court for? A dismissal?
Yes, ma'am. And as far as me taking her phone, I never took her phone.
Okay. All right, thank you all. Having heard the evidence presented by both parties, at this time, I am ready to make a ruling. I am going to continue to keep the protective order in effect for the next 12 months. It will expire naturally 12 months from today's date. That's going to be June 28th of 2024. The petitioner will continue to have primary custody of the child, Trinity. There is no legal claim from the respondent, so that'll have to be handled through the family court as far as visitation, should that happen at a later date. The respondent is to undergo and complete the family violence intervention program, paying for those, and we'll meet with the compliance officer today in just a moment to sign up for that. And under federal law, Mr. Brickley, you are not allowed to possess a firearm. So if that was not given over to the sheriff's department at the time you were served with this ex parte order, you will need to make arrangements to deliver that to the sheriff's department in order to be in compliance with this protective order. All right, this order will be mailed to the parties, emailed to the parties rather. Miss North, you can go ahead and log off. Miss